Reinstated, a source telling our Ed Werder. Now, our Adam Schefter reported last week that a deal between the Raiders and Lynch would eventually happen. This is on top of the news that the Seahawks are considering trading Richard Sherman. Stephen A., what is going on, and what does this say about the Seahawks particularly?
I don't think the Seahawks have been the same team since Pete Carroll and Darrell Bevell collaborated to make the dumbest decision in Super Bowl history when they elected not to give Marshawn Lynch the ball at the half-yard line to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I think that the Seattle Seahawks, as we knew and loved them, have never been the same ever since. The immediate season following, we saw Cam Chancellor essentially hold out for more money. We saw Richard Sherman on the sidelines. We saw Earl Thomas get hurt. We saw a flagrantly more disinterested beast mode in Marshawn Lynch, even though to some degree he was injured. At the end of the day, what it came down to is that he wasn't the same guy. And what we're seeing is guys once upon a time who rallied together and loved being in Seattle. Now there are question marks as to how much they want to be a part of it now. It seems to be more about business than it is about anything else. And anybody that has a better business opportunity or a similar business opportunity seems inclined to go elsewhere rather than be fixated on staying together. That was not the image that they had a few years ago when they won the Super Bowl and when they went back to the Super Bowl. But over the last couple of years since that Super Bowl loss, they have not been the same psychologically.
Look, you can point there because obviously they got to the Super Bowl and should have won and didn't. So how can I point to the Max Unger Jimmy Graham trade, which occurred before, and say that's the turning point? But I think it was. They gave up a really good offensive lineman. The offensive line, even though, look, they have a tremendous defense. So they were able to overcome it in various ways, and a great quarterback, and Baldwin has developed into a front-line receiver. But without that offensive line, they have really struggled running the ball. And not just running the ball, but protecting Russell Wilson. And that resulted in an injury early in the season and ineffectual play compared to their normal standards throughout the season. So I would point to that as the turning point, though, Stephen A., I do agree that in terms of the kind of sense that maybe some of these players have turned against Pete Carroll, I mean, who else would it be? The Marshawn Lynch situation, not giving him the ball, may have been the psychological turning point for them. I think in terms of the way the team was structured, it was the trade of Max Unger for Jimmy Graham.
I don't want to go as far as say they turned against Pete Carroll, but the reverence in which they deferred to him and seemed to accord to him in years past doesn't appear to be to that level right now. That much I will say.
But Stephen A., also, especially even with that call, if the trust is lost, I mean, how can there be any chemistry if they don't entirely trust in him anymore?
Well, you may not entirely trust in him, but that doesn't mean you think he's a bum or he doesn't know what he's doing or anything. I think I think where the problem lies is that it wasn't a mistake in the eyes. I'm telling you what I know speaking to some of the players. It wasn't a mistake in their eyes that he made the call. It was the fact that he appeared to want Russell Wilson to be the star as opposed to giving the ball a beast mode and closing the deal out. That's what resonates with guys.
There are also personnel decisions. You know, Richard Sherman's a very smart guy. He understands football, obviously, a Stanford guy and an all-pro level player. And when you look at an organization where they weaken the O-line, where they go to Eddie Lacy to fill a running back situation without even strengthening the O-line, where they're looking to trade, where Marshawn Lynch is kind of undervalued in a certain way and maybe will be allowed to go to a competitor. A guy like Richard Sherman's there going, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. And that's an indication, I think, not only that Super Bowl moment's a turning point, but that faith in the organization in terms of getting the right pieces and putting them in the best positions to win is declining.
What do you think this means for the Raiders then, Max?
In terms of getting Marshawn Lynch?
And where they would be in the division.
Look, if Marshawn Lynch ain't going to help you get to the quarterback, and that's really what the Raiders need. They need, Khalil Mack needs some help. They're not going to help you he's not going to help you in the defensive backfield. He's not going to help you, stop the other team from scoring unless you believe that that's part of a real ball control offense. But given the quarterback and the receivers, I don't know that you want to play ball control necessarily with that offense. So I do think he helps them. modestly over what they had. But I don't know that he's the answer in Oakland. But with or without him, Oakland is ascending. If Derek Carr is healthy and they do anything about the defense in the draft, they could win the Super Bowl this year. I mean, they looked pretty good this past season right up until he got hurt.
On that note, we will leave it there. Stephen A., you have the last word today in Final Take. Take it away.